Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. I want to say, first of all, that I would call this divine intervention. You're going to see the video of Trump, future President Trump, because he's won in a landslide. He won a landslide even before this attempt on his life. But this solidifies his 2024 victory. And you don't want that to take place. But the political reality is that Democrats have absolutely zero chance. They did before this, but this only unfortunately solidifies that. And first and foremost, every single member of the Secret Service has more courage. They have a great deal more. They're more brave, courageous than I am. So when I scrutinize the Secret Service, I'm definitely saying God bless the sniper team that met the madman with reciprocal force. Okay, you cannot control evil, but you can meet it and respond to it with reciprocal force, which is what should happen when you have somebody intent on committing evil. Okay, you can't control evil, you can respond to it with reciprocal force. And I applaud and commend the sniper team for the Secret Service. God bless the Secret Service agents. There's more courage there than I have and that most people have. The problem is we don't know how 410 feet away, whether it's an institutional or organizational failure. I'm not critiquing the individual Secret Service agents. I'm saying from an organizational or institutional or governmental standpoint, from a bird's eye view, the bureaucracy failed. And we'll get to that in a second. Trump, you'll see the video of him moving his head. I want to call it divine intervention. But there was a firefighter who lost his life. And it's unbelievable, the tragedy. You have a family who's mourning, and then several other people were critically injured. So it was divine intervention in a way, but it's very difficult to use that term for me because Trump was able to essentially save his own life by moving to the right, and you'll see that in a second. But others were not as fortunate. So hit subscribe to this channel. Check this out.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
So this is the Fox News segment showing this at 35 seconds in, 34 seconds. Okay, so you can see that.
A couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
So at 38 seconds in, he does move his head to the right. Had he not done that, he would not be alive today. Had he not done that, he would not be alive today. So at 38 seconds, so 37, and then 38. No, that's still 37. 36 seconds in, 37 seconds, he moves. Okay, you can just look. 36, 35. This is the Fox News segment, shots fired at Trump rally. Has 10 million views already. But at 35 seconds into it, you can see that he's looking, towards his right. But then he moves. He moves his head even more towards the right. And then you can see that he feels the projectile that just grazed the side of his head or ear. So look at it again. And it's very important to understand he was a centimeter, not even an inch, a centimeter from U.S. history was a centimeter away from being altered forever. And the most sinister people in this world advocate for this type of thing. We won't discuss who advocated for this or how the media or how Democrats have vilified Trump to the point of absurdity. We'll get to that in a second, but we'll just watch this in its entirety once again. Okay, so the only reason that I'm following YouTube guidelines, the only reason I'm showing this is to highlight the fact that this is not for any shock or, to stun people or to, glamorize or glorify or, make this a spectacle. I want people to realize just how close we were. When Democrats say our democracy was less than 1 inch away from being tarnished forever. Now, let's just see if we can. So at this point right now, he moved back.
Couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, he had his head to the right, then he moves towards the center, then he moves to the right again. The second time he moved to the right, back to his initial starting point, is what saved his life. And like I say, you could say this is divine intervention, but then it's like, well, why was there not divine intervention? I believe in God. I'm just saying there's a family grieving, there are people injured, and it's very difficult to say divine intervention, which almost certainly was the case when you still have a family that is grieving right now. And we will talk about that hero who is shielding his family, the firefighter, and we'll talk about him in a couple of minutes, how heroic he was. But the assailant, the suspect, was 410 yards away. Okay, 410 yards away. And if you look, ladies and gentlemen, this is a map. CBS News, map show location of Trump, assailant, law enforcement sniper. Okay, so I cannot believe this is, I can't believe my eyes. 400 feet away? 400 feet away? So I just can't believe my eyes. A little over a football field away? And that's not far. 400 feet. And I don't understand. Now, again, the sniper team, God bless them. They met the threat with reciprocal force, and God bless them. The point, however, is how do you not see this? And Kameshwari Kate, thank you. Well, I guess this event puts to rest any more discussions. Yeah, I mean, there's no point. For me, I won't bring it up again. Who knows what's going to happen? Very interesting. All bets are off, although I think it probably still will take place, but all bets are off regarding any of that stuff. Thank you, Kameshwari Kate. Thank you. So this is a CBS News map show location. And I don't really understand how this is even possible, that you can get multiple law enforcement said, okay, 410 feet away from the stage. How on earth? And again, I'm not critiquing the individual Secret Service agents who put their bodies around Trump. It was very courageous and heroic. What they tried to do, they could have been, maimed and injured and paralyzed, and they put their lives on the line. But from an organizational or institutional or bureaucratic standpoint, how do you let 400 feet? This is a CBS News article from today. Maps show location of Trump assailant, law enforcement snipers at Pennsylvania rally. Okay, so I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that. Does this make any sense to you? Does this make any sense? Location of suspect, and then Trump on stage is 400 feet. I mean, that is 400 feet. How on earth is there not 24/7 drone coverage or video of every rooftop within a mile radius? I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And then you have Democrats wanting to remove Trump's Secret Service detail. Oh, because he's a convicted felon. Yes. Because that won't be overturned like every other thing they tried to do. It will be overturned, of course. Democrats, Ranking Member Thompson introduces legislation, other Democrats too, to strip Trump's security detail right before, in April, months before this tragedy takes place. And so, you look, ladies and gentlemen, and it's like, this was just, it's really unbelievable. If you look at this again, and I'm abiding by YouTube guidelines. I'm not trying to glorify or make this into a spectacle or anything, but it's like people need to understand how close this was to something that our country would really change our country forever. For the worse. So he starts off there, moves to the center, and I mean, this is the last time I'll show you. You can watch numerous times on the replay. If just replay the sections of this video that you like. But this, ladies and gentlemen, it's really unbelievable that you have. It's really unbelievable that you have. I don't think people realize that we were a centimeter, a millimeter away from our democracy truly being in a terrible, horrendous position.
Take a look at what happened.
And this is when he turned. This is right before I stopped. You heard the firing. That's 37 seconds into the 10 million viewed Fox News video. At 37, from 36 to 37 seconds, he goes from, so let's do 35, he goes from the right, 36 seconds in, 36 seconds in, he goes towards the center of the stage, center right. Then 37 seconds in, he goes back to the right.
See something that said, take a look at what happened.
So you can see he looked to the right, then to the center right, and then back to the right again. And that's when, thank God, thank God he's alive. God bless this man. And I feel just so bad for the firefighter who lost his life. And let's learn about this man really quickly. Corey Comparatori God bless this man who lost his life. Let's listen to this.
And Governor Josh Shapiro has ordered all U.S. and Pennsylvania flags to half staff in honor of the Butler County man killed during Saturday's rally. Corey Comparator was a husband and a father, a lifelong firefighter. Comparator's family posting tributes online after his death. They told the governor he died a hero, diving on family members just to protect them.
Reporter Yasmin Rodriguez is learning more about him tonight.
God bless this man. God bless his family. He is a hero. And it's just, he should be alive today. He should be alive today. And I think that everyone, well, we'll get to my thoughts in a second.
And joins us live from Buffalo Township in Butler County with our story. Yasmin?
The victim is being remembered as a hero who shielded his loved ones from gunfire at yesterday's rally, and now tributes are pouring in. Those tributes extending all the way from Governor Josh Shapiro to President Joe Biden, who both spoke on how dedicated of a family man Corey was.
We lost a fellow Pennsylvanian last night, Corey Comparator.
A man dedicated to his family, community, and church. His family members now posting tributes online.
Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey went to church every Sunday. Corey loved his community. And most especially, Corey loved his family.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro paying tribute to the victim during an update on the investigation this afternoon. The Butler County native's wife told Pennsylvania leaders her husband died protecting his loved ones.
She also asked that I share with all of you that Corey died a hero. That Corey dove on his family to protect them last night at this rally. Corey was the very best of us. May his memory be a blessing.
President Joe Biden also recognizing the victim's sacrifice.
He was a father. He was protecting his family from the bullets that were being fired. And he lost his life. God love him.
Now, Corey's gear has been set up outside the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Department, but the fire department tells me they do have plans for something more elaborate. And coming up at 11, we hear from a former coworker and a neighbor who both had nothing but great things to say about Corey. For now, reporting live from Buffalo Township, Yasmin Rodriguez, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
So I'm just wondering if the Democrats who wanted to take away CMW, thank you. We got lost for a while. Good, we are back together again, praying unceasingly. CMW, thank you so very much. Good to see you back. Thank you, CMW. And thank you for your support. John, hello. I'm wondering, CMW, everyone here, John, thank you so very much, CMW. I'm wondering if the Democrats who wanted to strip Trump's security detail because very biased political machine in New York indicted and convicted Trump of something that wasn't even a crime, and then made him a convicted felon for the time being. It will be a Pyrrhic victory, as always, with Democrats. They focus on tactics, not strategy. RFK Jr., exactly, Mark, still has no protection. RFK Jr. needs full Secret Service protection, and only Democrats would deny the son of Robert Kennedy, the nephew of Jack Kennedy. Think about the sinister nature of the wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats who wanted to strip Trump's security detail and refused to give RFK Jr. a security detail. But I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, and CMW, thank you so much. Can somebody explain to me, is this accurate? This is a CBS News, CBS News. And I just cannot believe, I heard it was a little over 300 yards or so, or no, 100 yards or so yesterday, and 400 feet, little over 100 yards. How is that possible? Can somebody please explain to me? I'm not this, like, security expert, but you don't need to be a security expert. When people say, I'm not a lawyer, yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I know that breaking into a bank is illegal. I used to be a financial advisor 20 years ago, but I'm not a financial advisor now, but I wouldn't put my life savings, in some kind of new cryptocurrency. You don't have to. I'm not a geologist, but I'm not going to jump off a cliff. You don't have to be an expert. Democrats, they worship appeals to authority. They love appeals to authority because what happens in an appeal to authority, it's a logical fallacy oftentimes. And simply because smart people agree with something, that does not make it right. Okay? So you don't have to be an expert in the Secret Service or in security details to understand that 400 feet, not appropriate, not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Multiple law enforcement. Okay, so hold on one second. Said he was 400 feet away. Okay. Not acceptable. And we'll see this again in its entirety.
From the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people.
Now you have to pay attention, people. Now you have to pay attention. It's about 7-8 seconds from now. He moves his head to the right, moves it back to the center right, and then moves it back to the right again. I'm wondering if the Democrats that wanted to remove Trump's Secret Service because he was a convicted felon. Oh, he's a convicted felon. Because he paid Stormy, and it was a federal campaign issue when every Federal Election Commission chairman, Trey Traynor, Hans Avon Spakovsky, Bradley Smith, all of them have stated it was not a campaign finance violation. The state of New York has no jurisdiction or constitutional authority to level a Federal Election Commission crime, a federal crime against Trump or anyone else, if the FEC itself dropped the hush money case. The FEC already looked at it, dropped the case. The Department of Justice never leveled a federal indictment against Trump. The state, any state, has no right to then decide unilaterally what Trump did on if he committed a federal crime. So it's unconstitutional. Professor Alan Dershowitz, everybody that looked at this from an objective vantage point said it's going to be overturned, if not by the Supreme Court, definitely by the Supreme Court, but lower courts will overturn this, the conviction. So Democrats wanted to remove his Secret Service detail. That's very bizarre. Then, 400 feet away, how on earth is this even possible? How on earth is this even possible? I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that at all. Again, I'm not critiquing the individual Secret Service agents. They're more courageous and they've shown more bravery, the men and women there. I'm just saying from an institutional or organizational or bureaucratic vantage point, can somebody explain to me this CBS article? Can somebody explain, please? Maps show location. How on earth can you not see? I mean, and people were apparently stating, hey, there's somebody on that roof trying to get on that roof. Does that make any sense to anyone here? Rob, the MSN said to Trump just fell to the... Yeah, exactly. Brushy, hello. So I don't understand that at all. This is a CBS News article from today. I don't understand that at all. Okay? I don't understand how there was an outrage. See, the Republicans are the never Trump Republicans or the Republican Party. I mean, I like the Trump populist Republicans because they're against endless wars and they back Trump. Okay? Jim Jordan, Jim Comer, Rand Paul, Anna Paulina Luna, okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Democrats, when they hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're like frothing at the mouth. But it's like, you know what? We can go on forever. It's really interesting how AOC wants to impeach Supreme Court justices because they don't like the Supreme Court deciding that what Democrats were doing is unconstitutional. Sometimes Democrats and Republicans engage in unconstitutional behavior. But of course, AOC, if Marjorie Taylor Greene you'll never get Marjorie Taylor Greene wanting to impeach a Supreme Court justice, but AOC does. And then you get them trying to remove Trump's security detail months before this happened. But the Republicans aren't right now. Look what Anna Paulina Luna just simply wanted to follow the law. Merrick Garland defied a congressional subpoena, but two other Trump Republicans are going to prison. How does that work for the same crime? And he's not. The Republicans are inept, or I should say, they're frightened of media still. The Republican Party needs to actually grow a spine. I don't know. But when Trump comes in, hopefully we get Congress. I think they probably lost Congress after yesterday too. But let's continue with this. This was a huge security debacle. And God bless the individual Secret Service agents, the sniper team, the man himself that met the maniac with reciprocal force. When Democrats say, Second Amendment controlled. Well, Democrats and Republicans or Democratic lawmakers have security details they pay $30,000 for a year in some cases. You know what? Every citizen of this country has a Second Amendment. It's just a personal security detail. But anyway, let's continue.
He's retired Secret Service agent Jeff James and joins us now. Jeff, thanks for being here. Really go anywhere you want. I mean, was standard protocol missed here? Was it followed here? What was your perspective of the sort of before, during, and after?
Well, one of the things I want to say about the commentary regarding the sniper teams is I think it's an easier task when you're looking at that picture that we're all seeing that just encompasses that small part of the fairgrounds. The Secret Service sniper teams train out to 1,000 yards, and that's the targets they look for. So I think if you would expand that picture out to cover 1,000-yard pie, and then realize that one sniper team has 180 degrees of responsibility in that pie, there's probably a lot more targets that they're eyeing than just those buildings that are right there in that short distance. There's tree lines.
Now, I agree with what this man is saying, but how is this not I don't see any other buildings. I mean, this is only a small snapshot, but exactly, you're right. Brushy, 100, yeah, exactly. So you have a football field and a half, a little over a football field and a half. But the point is, how do you not do? I mean, this is a direct line to where Trump was. 410 feet is not that far away at all. Not that far. You could pretty much see a person pretty clearly 410 feet away, especially on a bright sunny day. I don't get it, but let's continue.
And there's elevated natural features. There's homes. So that's the one thing I would say is they're looking at a lot more than just those buildings sitting right there in front of them. And again, it's not just near, it's far away also. So that is a tough mission.
So I think that's very fair, Jeff. I appreciate that bit of context. If we zoom that picture out, maybe there is many more potential rooftop environments that they're monitoring as well.
So, God bless the counter sniper team. So this is pretty much the same kind of map. Yeah, I don't know how they. I'm talking about from a bureaucratic or organizational or institutional standpoint. How does, as an institution, the Secret Service allow this to happen? I'm not saying they quote unquote allowed it to happen. I'm saying, how do they overlook? There should be 24/7 surveillance of every rooftop within a 1 mile radius. 24/7 surveillance. How difficult is that? And if we didn't have enough manpower, is it the fault of Democrats who wanted to literally take Trump's Secret Service away from him?
That being said, still, does it not surprise you that is certainly the closest proximity rooftop to President Trump's location? Does it not surprise you that someone was allowed on that rooftop during his rally?
It does. But I also, the other thing I don't know is where the secure perimeter ended. It's when.
Coach O'Connor, thank you, Coach. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, Coach. This gentleman is 100% right, and he's very smart, and he knows a lot more about the Secret Service and about security than I do. But the point is, what does it matter when the perimeter ended? I mean, I understand, but how could the perimeter have been, ended before the 410 feet? Why would they have ended a perimeter? If you look at this map right here, and Coach, thank you. Why would the perimeter have ended before the location of the madman? If it's only 410 feet, how does that work? I don't get that. Again, I'm not countering what this man is saying. I think that he knows that he's explaining that there were failures. So you want a radius of what? 300 feet? Okay, just 100 yards, not the extra 66 yards or. So I don't get that. I don't understand. You want a radius that ends before the building and rooftop? I don't understand that. So from an organizational standpoint, who was in charge of that?
When you look at these outdoor events, and look, the reason the candidates love these outdoor events is because, if they would have gone to Pittsburgh, the PPG Arena, they could fit 18,000 people. These outdoor events, they can get 30,000 people. They're in front of so many more faces.
I love President Trump. No more major. I don't know. I mean, if there's a major outdoor event, then he has to get the bulletproof glass around him. I mean, there has to be some kind of security protocol. I mean, maybe no more of these events, these big events. I don't know. Because you know what? You never know in this day and age with the vitriol, the venom spewed every single night, and you have to ask yourself, what role does the rhetoric from Hollywood celebrities, from late night comedians, from journalists, quote unquote, from cable, from The Atlantic, making up and fabricating quotes, almost certainly fabricating and making up quotes or using anonymously sourced quotes, which is the essentially gossip and hearsay in this day and age. They literally made up, or they accused Trump of saying, that people were losers who lost their lives, which with zero evidence at all. people, soldiers, with zero evidence at all. And he was accused of that by Biden. It's called gossip and hearsay. There's no evidence that he said any of these things because he didn't. If anyone who, look, if you want to compare Trump's love for this country, he didn't have to deal with all of this. He was already a billionaire. Biden needs politics. The Clintons, they all need politics to enrich themselves. Trump doesn't. He's doing it for the love of the country. Okay? You might not like his. And then there was a Hollywood celebrity. I won't put this. It's a Daily Mail. She actually called for Biden to take out the greatest president of my lifetime because she didn't understand the Supreme Court decision, believed the absurd propaganda that this allowed a president to take out his political opponent. The immunity decision has literally nothing to do with ending a political opponent's life, which would not be an official act. The immunity decision only allows official acts. Democrats, in their hyperventilating, as always, tried to make the absurd leap of logic that, well, because we couldn't use a very broad, vague, and ambiguous legal statute against Trump, the 18 U.S. Code 371 statute, therefore he's able to do anything. He's a monarch. He's a king. And people believe it. And people believe it. Then, of course, the celebrity compared him to the 1930s and 1940s German leader who, and apparently people do not know that time period in world history. They're completely clueless. Trump signed prison reform legislation. I don't think an authoritarian from that time is known for prison reform.
But it does create situations like this where you have to say there's a stopping point. And when you get beyond that, it's tough to secure this unending amount of land, regardless of how big the outdoor event is. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see as the time goes where the secure perimeter ended. I know they're saying this is outside of it.
Secret spaceship. Thank you. I know the media is now saying, well, Trump created this environment. No, he didn't. It was media that created all this nonsense, this apoplectic, hyperventilating, the hysterical environment, political environment is 1,000% the media, Hollywood, the Democratic Party's fault. It's not Trump. Trump makes a statement and then they expand it and they make it grandiose and they distort his words and they then create this myth, this aura around everything he says. And it's always distorted. He never said both sides had fine people in the manner he literally condemned the 1930s and 1940s German wannabes that day in Virginia. Even Snopes took 7 years, but Snopes said, oh yeah, he can. Nothing that you've heard about Trump is true. But what did this man say right here?
And when you get beyond that, it's tough to secure this unending amount of land, regardless of how big the outdoor event is. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see as the time goes where the secure perimeter ended. I know they're saying this is outside of it.
Secret spaceship. Thank you again. How can this be? Can somebody tell me how the building right in front of Trump could be outside of the secure perimeter? Who is making the secure perimeter? The Democratic National Committee? Who is making the secure perimeter? They should call it again, no disrespect to, God bless all the individual Secret Service agents, especially the sniper and his team. But who is making the secure perimeter? If this building where the suspects was there, the location of the madman, was 400 feet, a direct line to Trump, who made the unsecure perimeter? I mean, why would you? I mean, it's almost as if you're inviting this type of thing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't get it, and I don't understand it.
and then he moves his head left and moves his head right. As he moves his head right, and then he...
So this is a really interesting discussion. So again, in another map, it's right within, it is, and there's no trees, by the way. There's no nothing. There's no trees. There's no nothing to impede the vision of the madman. And it was a clear day. And that's why I spent so much time, because God bless that man, that firefighter who lost his life. That family's in mourning now. He's only 50 years old. He was young. He was a young man. But I mean, it's just, how could the security perimeter be anything less than a mile? I don't get that. And the Democrats wanted to remove Trump's security detail.
He moves his head left, and then he moves his head left and moves his head right. As he moves his head right, to the right, he is shot in the right ear, right? And you talk about an instance of millimeters, of centimeters, of a very small amount of space. If you don't move to the right, the back of your head is still in that same position, and it gives a bigger target for the shooter. Is this one of those things where, and we'll go into the other details, is this one of those things where this is a very lucky former president of the United States?
Elohim mistakel on President Trump. God must have been watching down on the President trace. Snipers typically train to shoot into the cerebral cortex or the cerebellum. It's the top of the brainstem. It decapacitates. It keeps your hands from moving. It's how we train in counterterror. Trump turning to the right. Again, it's about the distance of the shot, 130 meters.
130 yards,
they're talking 130 yards. Trace, that's a putt. Anyone can put a 223 optic on a target from that distance and hit. It's not a difficult shot to make. The fact that the president was off to the right, if his head had been straight and that round, and I'm going to quote one of my law enforcement associates here, I'm not going to name names, but an 18-year sniper competitive shooter made it very clear to me that had the president's head been straight and that round had gone into the ear, it would have been lights out. The fact that he just happened to be turned this way with that shot coming in is what saved his life. Now, obviously, there's some other failures here.
And that's why I try to emphasize, not that, people should subscribe to the channel or anything, but this live stream is extremely important, because I don't think most Americans, I don't think most people in the world know that the fact he moved his head, and I don't want to use the word divine intervention because a man lost his life. Why did God protect Trump and not the firefighter? And God bless that firefighter's family and the people who are suffering right now and recovering. God bless them. Speedy recovery and complete recovery for the people who were wounded. And it's like, but there was almost certainly some type of, the fact that Trump moved his head, he moved it to the right first, then to the center right, then to the right again. You saw it. That's why I spent so much time. And I don't think people really understand. We were less than, not even an inch, a centimeter, really a centimeter away. A centimeter he moves with the projectile going as fast as it did. That could be, game over, God forbid.
Here, I don't want to start beating down on the Secret Service.
Nor should we, because we don't know enough.
We don't know enough. The investigation is still being conducted. The body is still warm, and let them do their business. But I will tell you this. The FBI works on what's called a multi-ring security package for the personal protection of the president. They call it the bubble. And what that means is it would take a multi-failure event in order for an attacker to be successful. Part of the reason why the president is alive, and again, the footage is still kind of speckled. It hasn't really been assembled yet, just bits and pieces that we've been seeing online. The fact is that one of those rings, that second or third ring, which is the counter snipers,
right,
surveillance element, those sharpshooters, which you saw on that roof, there's been some footage, ended up sending shots back as quickly as they could and ended up neutralizing that sniper. So hat tip to those guys. A lot of armchair quarterbacks out there beaten up. But what I have heard, and what's interesting to me, is that there were multiple requests made to Director Cheadle to increase the amount of manpower directly around the immediate perimeter of the president. I can't tell you if the levels of protection are higher for a standing president or if they're lower for an out president.
I think they are. I mean, that's the whole thing. And then once he is confirmed as a nominee, and the FBI would not confirm this, nor would the state police, and then once he is confirmed, and we have questions out to the Secret Service once he is confirmed as the nominee, which would happen this week, apparently there is a more robust presence going forward. So that is there. I'm curious, though, as you look at this and you look at the investigation here, they say there were no suspicious instances. There were no red flags. We talked about that going into this. So nobody was forewarned. And yet that the reporting is they were warned that there was somebody climbing up the outside of a building they call AGR. It's a glass and plastics manufacturer, and they manufacture drinking containers for the most part. We don't know any connection that the shooter might or might not have with that, but we know that this building was outside of the perimeter, the security perimeter. But the building was 130 yards away, and as Aaron articulated there, that is not a far distance when you're talking about a high-powered weapon, and the president was there. It's interesting why anybody would be allowed on a tall building. I have been to a gazillion of these types of rallies. The tall buildings are the first and foremost to always be secured.
So here's my response, Trey. It's a good question because there's a lot of pieces here and it's all kind of floating around. What would be the motive of the Secret Service to not protect every building within all of that vicinity? They want to hit everything. So again, where I'm leaning and where it's taking me to, the response elements were on target. The man was neutralized. They put him down as quick as they could. By the way, less than a half a second in that inner immediate perimeter protecting the president. Less than a second, they were immediately on President Trump, covering him, creating that protective shield. But what would be the benefit of the Secret Service not covering that building where the shot was fired from? So my opinion, and where it leads me to believe, is there had to have been a lack of resources, because what would it have been to put a couple of agents on that building to do what's called sterilize it? So that
Now, I agree with this gentleman. It could have been a lack of resources, but I don't look what you can see. This is 400 feet away. You have Trump, you have the location of the madman, and literally nothing in the and the madman is elevated on the top of a roof. And so I don't get this is not, again, my critique, and I'm trying to, because you have a responsibility. When you're on YouTube, you're a content creator, the entire planet and future generations will hear anything you say. And so I'm saying categorically, God bless every single Secret Service agent, especially the people that, took care of Trump, went around Trump, but also especially the sniper and his team who met the madman with reciprocal force. I can't stand when the wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats say, oh, a Second Amendment control. You know what? How about controlling illegal substances or evil? How about controlling evil behavior? You'll never be able to do it, unfortunately. So what you have to do is meet evil behavior with reciprocal force. This man, this person wanted to, he did, unfortunately, end the life of a firefighter. He wanted to end Trump's life. And he was then met with the reciprocal. Of course, I'm speaking in an algorithmically friendly manner. But when Democrats say, we just have to make the laws, a madman intent on committing a crime maybe doesn't follow laws. Maybe, just maybe. Democrats think you pass a law and everyone follows it. Yeah, the law-abiding citizens do. People who intend to commit crimes don't. So therefore, there has to be reciprocal action to address that. You see these mass tragedies, and like it ends when the person committing the tragedy is met with the same reciprocity. Let's just keep it algorithmically friendly. But anyway, this doesn't make sense to me. This makes zero sense to me. And this is the type of thing when Democrats say, well, Trump is showing distrust in our institutions. Even in a relationship, you have to build trust. You trust an individual based on actions, not words. You trust an institution. You trust the government based on the actions, not the words or not their prestige. And or you distrust based on their actions or their lack of transparency or their obvious failures. From an organizational or institutional or bureaucratic standpoint, who was responsible for not making sure that building was part of the cordon or the security perimeter? Who was responsible from an institutional vantage point for making sure for allowing this not to be part of the security perimeter, not within the security perimeter? Okay? Because that had to be, you have this big building right in front of Trump. So he doesn't move to the right. Back to the right. And the force of that projectile, the inertia, the speed, and then what happens to America? What happens to half of the electorate that wanted a change from this abysmal failure of the incumbent president, who, by the way, Democrats are now trying desperately to rid themselves of in the most sinister and comical. Democrats are like the Keystone Cops of the antithesis of democracy. They just clamor and hyperventilate about democracy, and everything they do is the antithesis of democracy. And they spent, we can go on forever, but let's listen to an eyewitness account.
We turn now.
Thank you.
To our next guests, who were 4 rows behind Donald Trump during tonight's shooting: Robert Razzano and Thomas Lepore. Thank you both for being with us. Robert, let's start with you and get your take. 4 rows behind, what did you see?
Sean, it was just it was a really surreal moment. Just 10, 15 minutes prior, we're sitting there, we're watching former President Trump, give a great speech. The crowd was electric despite, the heat, the weather. We saw him come out to God Bless America. And it was just a great moment. The crowd was just really happy to hear him and see him and be there. And, then all of a sudden, mayhem, ensued. And we heard probably 3 to 4 shots ring out. And, most of the crowd had hit the ground after that. We heard several more shots ring out that sounded, a lot more powerful. We assumed that it was, Secret Service because they were a lot closer. And then, we looked up, and you could see in the stands that there were several bodies, unfortunately, that were on the ground. There was a good deal of blood, and it looked like law enforcement was carrying a body out. We weren't sure, who it might have been. But the next thing that I knew, Sean, was we looked up and we saw the president. He stood proud. Secret Service had helped him up, and he pumped his fist at the crowd. And the crowd went nuts. We started chanting USA, and, there was a sense of relief, I think, that overcame us because we were just happy that, President Trump was okay.
Yeah, it really is. And let me get the take of Thomas. Thomas, tell us what you saw and if it was any different. And I do appreciate both of you. I guess you were both in row 4, Thomas. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. Before I get started, obviously my thoughts and prayers go out to the Trump family and the innocent bystanders who got hit today as well. It's very disturbing. We were only, 4 roads back from President Trump. The crowd was awesome. It was 90 degrees all day. We stood outside for, 6, 7, 8 hours waiting to see him. And when he comes out, it's unmatched. There's no one like him. It's electric. We love it. And it's very disappointing what happened.
I apologize for just pausing this as this man is speaking, but this is how close that he was. Had he not moved his head to the right like that, the angle, you could just do the mathematical equation or geometry. If he doesn't move his head to the right, then you ask yourself, that projectile is going through a lot more than just the top of his ear. Or, yeah, it looks like it went through the top of his ear. Let's continue.
We have a group text that we talk about, a lot of political things, and we had this, we had this in our back of our mind, like this is our last attempt to take him out, and it happened, 5 rows in front of us, which is very shocking and disturbing. I'm just glad he's okay, but again, I'm very hurt that innocent bystanders had to, or they're not coming home to their families tonight. It's disturbing, and it shouldn't happen in this country.
Let me ask you, when this happened and you saw the injured people in front of you and you saw what had happened to the president, what was the reaction of the other people in the crowd? Robert, I'll ask you first.
You know what, Sean? I think that for the most part, people were stunned. There was just, I think, a sense of shock that came over everyone. I know for my personal sense was, we're in a fishbowl, and you start to hear gunshots and you don't know where they're coming from. And, you're thinking about yourself at that point. Obviously, you're thinking about the president, but, I have 2 small children, and that was the first thing that came to my mind was, I just want to make it out of here to see my kids.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to that, Thomas, in the end, right? You go to a political rally, the last thing you expect is what happened tonight.
By the way, Trump is 77 years old. I believe I'm correct with that. 77. And nothing phases this man. I mean, he's really, you talk about fitness or great shape, or it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just concerning that there was a security breach to me. I don't understand how that happens in this day and age, but again, this is the climate we're in right now. We need to do better as a country. We need to not be as divided as we are. And we need to understand that there are different sides. That's awesome. That's great. People have their own opinion, their own voice. But at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have family members. We're all loved by others. And this type of violence is just not accepted. It shouldn't be accepted in this country. And I hope going forward, it's not. And
that's brilliantly said. It shouldn't be accepted. But when you go to sleep at night with Kimmel and Colbert. You wake up in the morning with Morning Joe and then The View. And then you read The Atlantic, and then Hollywood celebrities, and the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, every single social media algorithms up until Elon Musk purchased Twitter, but even social media algorithms all the time. Every single day, Democrats are calling Trump a threat to democracy, the 1930s and 1940s German leader. This is all hyperbole. This is all apoplectic nonsense. And they focus on Trump's rhetoric. It's like his rhetoric is nothing compared to the nonstop venom, vitriol from media 24/7. 24/7. I mean, you can't even... Johnny Carson didn't spend every waking hour trying to disparage the Republican Party. Kimmel and Colbert do.
To me now, like, again, with what happened with Trump falling down again up and pumping his fist, he's immortal to me now. I will support him to the end, and I will fight for him to the end. But violence like this is unacceptable. And I just thank God that more people weren't injured. But again, one is too many in the situation.
Kind of amazing. You guys go to a rally, and I'm sure the last thing both of you, Robert and Thomas, expected tonight, but we do appreciate you being with us.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this live stream has shown everybody some really valuable insights. One is President Trump moving his head. And I went through, every frame early on and moving his head away from a speeding projectile that the angle, had he not moved his head, would have then caused serious damage to the point where, we wouldn't have a future president. And so I think another valuable insight is the fact that most people don't know 410 feet separated the madman from Trump. And most people don't know that the security perimeter apparently, don't quote me on it, but this is what we heard just now, apparently was less than 400 feet. What? I don't understand that. Okay. And so you see, you have those two insights, and I think that's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. In addition to the fact that, you had a man the firefighter who lost his life, and people injured, and I wish them only a speedy recovery, full recovery. And you have to ask yourself, how did we get to this point? Well, we got to this point because Democrats cannot take the L. They can't simply take a loss. They don't know what losing politically means. That's why they want to impeach. When you have a political party where one of the most popular people, AOC, is trying to impeach the Supreme Court, okay, we have crossed the Rubicon into madness. We did in 2016 also. I mean, it started in 2016. But they don't understand taking a loss politically. In a democracy that they claim to care about, you're going to get certain political victories and certain political losses. You deal with them and you move on. But Democrats don't know how to deal with them. They indicted Trump, they convicted Trump, and still Trump's poll numbers went up because everyone knows that the opposite is true. They say, oh, he's a convicted felon. And the opposite is true. He didn't have 50 intelligence officials protecting him the way Hunter did. And so all I can say is God bless America. God bless you watching around the world. Thank you for being interested around the world in American politics, in the future of my country, the USA. Thank you to my viewers in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Nepal, Canada, the Philippines, Korea, everywhere around the world, Nigeria. God bless you. Thank you for watching. And God bless America, and God bless everyone in this country, Democrats, Republicans, Green Party, Libertarian, everyone, socialist, communist, conservative, everyone. I don't really care about politics in that politics is not who I am, it's what I do. And Democrats have disowned friends. I have had friends who've disowned me. Why? Why? Because they view politics to be this existential issue. It's not. It's not. You're just going to have to deal, Democrats, with a great economy when Trump wins and a great foreign policy. That's all. Hit subscribe to this channel, people. God bless you. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try to do an earlier live stream tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, everybody.